It takes place where both Roland and Evan, they have met with the Sky Pirates, and they've let them know that Tawny, who's the head of the Sky Pirates' adopted daughter, she's been captured by a group of wyverns.
Gotcha.
So they're missioning out to go seek her and save her from that group. The Sky Pirates are like, oh, you know, like she's gone, like, you know, we can't get her back, and they're like, no,
we got this. Don't worry.
This is what we do.
Yeah, it's fam. Yeah.
This is
usual,
beautiful.
I was going to say, first thing, every time I see this game, GD is it striking how beautiful it is.
Man,
how hard is it to make it look this good?
It's ridiculous because it's one of those things where you can jump in and it's like you're actually playing like an animated, you know, cinematic like full feature film.
Yeah, it's stunning.
But then there's also like the juxtaposition of like in the first Ni no Kuni you had that overworld where you actually shrunk your characters down and then you would actually walk around and it was all instance battles, and then you go into a dungeon and it's still the same instance battles but it shows them in like that kind of larger anime look and feel. This one, they've gone with this new like chibi style look for the overworld, and they also wanted to really tweak the visuals to make it look like that juxtaposition of like kind of real world scenery versus the anime style that's within the dungeons.
Gotcha.
And also when you go into the dungeons, it's a seamless battle. So you actually walk up to different enemies and you can just battle them.
So it's not random encounters, it's more...
There's no like swoosh sound.
What was the mantra to set out to make the sequel? Because obviously the original Ni no Kuni is so beloved. You know, for so many people, came out of left field. You know what I mean? Like, it caught people off guard how great it was. Where does that set the development of number 2 in terms of expectations, in terms of trying to deliver them?
I think everyone's expectations are really high, but I think no one's expectations are higher than level 5.
Yeah.
You know, this is really the culmination of years of work that they put together in kind of all of their different titles that they've worked on. Like, they're constantly refining their gameplay mechanics, the way that they deliver their story, and they don't really want to be kind of stuck into like a box with it. It's like, you know, oh, it's level 5, they're JRPGs. Designers, they don't want to say that they're leaning towards like, oh, they're trying to be Western. They think of themselves as like global RPG makers. So it's like this is something that is relatable to people of all ages, all countries. You know, something that's fun for everyone.
So now I got the rundown of this at Judges Week 3. But you want to talk about the little characters we have on the screen here? We'll see them again, obviously, in the next battle. But
oh, the Higglebees.
Yeah.
Higglebees.
So the Higglebees are like they're little sprites that are basically they derive from different natural elements in the world. So think about like fire, water, wind. There's also in this demo there's the light and the dark Higglebees as well.
Gotcha.
The first game had the whole monster capture battle type thing going. So this game doesn't.
This one doesn't have the same familiar system, but there is different things that you're collecting. So one of the new modes that we announced recently is Kingdom Mode. So that involves you building your own kingdom, but you end up going to different kingdoms to meet other potential citizens, and you have to kind of show your worth as a ruler to them and bring them into the fold to put them into different roles within your kingdom.
Gotcha.
And as you do that, your kingdom's actually going to visually build, but then it opens up like, you know, magic research, armament building, and then more features that you're able to trick out and research. So you're collecting citizens instead of you're collecting familiars.
So I imagine that kind of builds into the story of this game. What is the overall plot of this?
So it all starts out with Evan Pettywhisker Tildrum. He's young boy king of Ding Dong Dell. His father...
Oh, sorry, one more time?
He's the young boy king of Ding Dong Dell.
Okay.
I love it.
Sold.
His father was, he ended up passing away, and he had to take his throne a little bit too early. And the minister, Otto Mausinger, he ends up staging a coup and then ousting Evan from his kingdom. And during this whole commotion, Roland shows up. And Roland is from Ichi no Kuni. So that's kind of like that world duality that was in the first Ni no Kuni. He's actually a president in his world, probably about 20 years older. He just pops into this world and he's like, oh, I'm like 20 years younger, and what's going on? And he meets Evan, and he really sees a lot of himself in him and decides that he's going to stay in this world and kind of groom him and mentor him to become a king. And it's all about Evan's journey to really kind of prove to the world that he's worthy of being a king, but almost proving it to himself as well.
Sure.
You know, it's building his confidence, being able to gain that strength of all the characters around you, whether friend or foe.
So to you, what is the connective tissue between the two games, the original Ni no Kuni and this one? Because the original I remember was like, oh my god, this story, right? You should play it, obviously. Like the way it opens and who you are in that game and getting put into this world. This is similar but yet different kind of thing where it's not that idea and the systems or mechanics are different.
Yeah, everything's kind of, it's tweaked a bit.
Yeah.
You know, there's no continuity between the first Ni no Kuni and the second one. Think of it almost as like this is the world that this is all taking place in is like level 5 sandbox.
Okay.
And they've taken some similar pieces from the first one. Like there's a Ding Dong Dell in the first one. There's a Ding Dong Dell in the second one. Both of them are a kingdom of cats and mice, catfolk and micefolk living together in harmony.
Yes.
But the characters are totally different. So I think that the thing that's cool is that, you know, there's things that are familiar where people will see like, oh, I remember this familiar in the first game, or I remember this kind of world environment. But it's not so much that if you were to play this one, you'd be like, oh, well, I don't need to play about the first Ni no Kuni.
Of course.
Or vice
I
versa.
meant, yeah, the connective tissue of what is a Ni no Kuni game, not is this connected 1 to 2, where's the crossover kind of thing. I understand.
So Studio Ghibli had a lot to do with the first game, correct?
Yeah. Well, there was certain individuals that are from Studio Ghibli pedigree. So there's Joe Hisaishi, who's he's a composer, and he's done almost every single Studio Ghibli film, maybe less like 2 or 3. And he's doing the composition again for Ni no Kuni 2, along with the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra.
Very cool.
And then there's Yokiichi Momose, who's a former character designer for Studio Ghibli. So he's worked on like Grateful Fireflies, Spirited Away, stuff like that.
Nice.
So it's being able to take those elements that, you know, is undoubtedly within that kind of light Ghibli look and feel, but then being able to, you know, take the talents of Level 5, led by Akihiro Hino, and his ability to be able to like weave this story that's really high fantasy, but then also relatable to everyone at the same time.
With the last game being on a PlayStation 3, and now this being on PlayStation 4, has that kind of given you guys a lot of room to make advancements in ways you couldn't before?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, especially when you think about the additional features that that you'll get when you're playing on a PlayStation 4 Pro.
Tell me about them.
Well, there's 4K for sure, and there's some other details that we haven't shared quite yet. But
it talks to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes a third game for you, and it pops out Toast.
Ni no 3 Ni.
Yeah.
Okay, Tim, it's not going to
Never letting it go.
Don't. That's even worse. It's even worse than Ni no Kuni. Jeez Louise. So for you, Steven, what gets you most excited about this sequel?
I think it's definitely the story, because that was the thing that really caught me in the first game.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I remember playing through the first one even before I was working at Bandai Namco. So being able to work on Ni no Kuni 2 is just like a dream. And it's this like I hate using an onion because I don't really like eating onions.
I hate onions too.
But it's like you think of that peeling an onion away.
Sure.
There's all these different layers, and it's like, you know, it's every time we have new content that we're showing, you know, there's just this this surge of emotion that you get from the audience, and it's like it's really special being able to work on something that, you know, people really hold so true to their heart.
Yeah.
And then also the way that they've taken elements from the first Ni no Kuni, but then you can see other elements that they've taken from other games that they've worked on. Like with Kingdom Mode, a lot of people have been like, oh, this is a lot like Dark Cloud 2.
Oh, awesome.
Because they had that Geotama, or it was something like that, but you would actually build towns. This one's kind of almost like the spiritual successor to that